All right, welcome back, everyone. Brandon Potts, my regular guest, couldn't make it today, so Curtis, PE turn RE, is filling in, and we got the one and only Hold It with PM Jen back on. So, morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
And quickly, if you haven't seen Jen's interview with Zuber, One Rent at a Time, has come out, so go check it out there. It's a great interview.
Yeah.
But yeah, this topic, main topic today, was something Jen posted on LinkedIn, and if you want to find it, that's primarily where you seem to be focusing most of your content on, right?
You know what's so funny? So YouTube is where the education is and advocacy. LinkedIn is a lot of advocacy. I do a lot of ranting on there. And then TikTok is where I just renamed it for the beginning of the year. It's called Becoming PM Gen. So it's a behind the scenes look at, what like a 44-year-old chunky girl in central Pennsylvania trying to get famous about real estate. Like she hired a stylist. I don't know if you can tell, learn that story, see my studio, like all the stuff, right? We see everybody doing this, and I'm going to try talking about it. And then, of course, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, but I'm not paying much attention because I am elderly, as aforementioned.
Well, Facebook is for your population, Jen.
I know. I know. And I don't like it anymore. I used to like Facebook, but I'm digging the vibe on LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube. Like, I'm just finding my people,
All right. So, like I said, this one she posted on LinkedIn. I'll summarize it real quick. It's the more money you have, the less likely it is that you're running your rental properties well. So, do you want to dig into that a little bit more, Jen?
Yeah. So here's the premise. In my experience, when you are more comfortable financially, so your income and expenses aren't so closely aligned. You have more income than expenses. Meeting your expenses and your everyday financial needs is easier and you're on track. You get really lazy in the rental business. So we're not critical of expenses. We're not butthurt about vacancy. We don't keep our rents at market. And I had an experience with a friend of mine. So as I talk about all the time, I'm mid-career, I'm 44, and I've got a bunch of friends who are that same age. And I've been working with them now for like 15 years on their rental properties. So I met them when we were all a lot younger and hungrier. The things we were doing nights and weekends look a little different than the things we're doing now. And I have a buddy, and I manage some of his properties and whatever, they're going fine, but I don't manage this one double. And he said, well, I really like these tenants I have in the one side. And they said if I hired a manager, they'd leave. All right. So I kept him there. Anyway, the other side eventually gave him trouble. We were at a cookout and he says, I haven't gotten rent in 6 months. And I went, Dennis, Jesus Christ. I won't sleep now. I won't sleep. What gives? I was like, what gives, man? Because like when I met you, you were selling cell phones on like fucking eBay. Like this is not the man who let 6 months of rent go, but he has become successful. He has a successful business that is not real estate. He also has real estate, but he has a trade that he works in and he owns that business. And he has grown in his financial ability. And he said, yeah, like if I'm not struggling to make that mortgage payment or the tax payment or pay the lawn guy, all of a sudden, and the things I have to do in a day, confronting that tenant about unpaid rent just went to the bottom of the list. And he's got small children and he's being a good dad and doing all the things. So as he's gotten comfortable, he's let this stuff go. Now, of course, he's hired us. We're handling it. We're getting it all back on track. But I have another example of a physician that I brought on, very poorly managed portfolio. He was doing it himself. And I said, sir, you're a smart man. What stops you from like either hiring a company? Like at the time we were being entertained to be hired, we are now hired. He said, these problems were hard. I didn't know how to make that unit ready to go get rented for $800 a month. And then I would go work a shift at the hospital and make $7,000 and go, well, I made $7,000. Who gives a crap about the $700 a month rental? And it was very much a moment of like their energy, they're depleted. They make reasonable decisions for them in that moment. We might look at this as professionals or more hungry financially than they are and go, what are you doing? But they don't see it that way. And they're making, so my take on this based on experiences, if you're successful in real estate and you get to the point where you're financially independent, or there's no mortgages or less mortgages. I see this with older people who've paid off the properties. Maybe they're not very financially comfortable, but the asset isn't begging in an expense way. The asset isn't sending them invoices, and they start to take the pressure off running it efficiently. So if you're successful and you get lazy, well, then you got to hire out. You'll see that, Curtis, because you're in the self-managing portion of your career right now, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're very close to it and you're doing everything, and all this experience you have is, and this work you're doing is going to grow a financial snowball that makes you comfortable. And you will have to choose how you handle that, what choices you make, and how diligent you want to be when you're financially free and you're whisking off on a vacation for the new year or something. Do you want to sit down and look at your QuickBooks tonight? I don't know. Does that resonate? Like, are you, Mark, at a point where maybe like it's getting a little lazy, or are you still very active and tearing everything apart?
Well, speaking of lazy, though, I do want to say good morning to Dion, who is here, who that is kind of his brand. So he was the keynote speaker at Bigger Pockets, the Lazy Investor. But
Okay.
just want to let everyone know his book is now available on Audible. So there is the link to his book that you can purchase. Is now
And
available
would
on
I
Audible.
assume he's a proponent of passivity because he wants to be lazy in it?
Yeah, efficiency. Like
Sure.
his probably his biggest thing is the least amount of doors with the most amount of cash flow. So he's
Sure.
really
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
Not for
Um,
scale, but for outcome. Cool.
Outcome and lifestyle, definitely for the small and mighty, like Coach Carson, kind of so that you can live the life that you want, right? Kind of quit the game when you know you've won. And but to your point though, like Curtis, so what is your thought? I know I sent you her
Mhm.
whole post, so if anyone does want to see it, it is on LinkedIn. What did you think about that when you first read it?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because I thought if you had more resources, right? Because if these people are well off, I would think they have the money to hire things out to get it done well, right? Like if I would need to go do work on a property, there's times where I'll just go do it. It may not be the highest quality work, but it will get done because I have time to give to it. Whereas if you have the money, I thought they'd pay someone well enough to go do the work, but it seems like that seems to not be the case. And Mark, I was curious with you because you got like some weird blended, like half you manage, half you hire out. So how did you kind of fight with that choice?
For me, it's just like a learning process and more to show that it is possible for those that may want to do it. But ultimately, I don't really want to be doing any of it. I mean, that's like, if you're saying time freedom is your goal and having the most freedom, I mean, ultimately for me, it's completely hands off. I mean, that's the end goal for me. But for me, currently where I'm at, it's more if something was to happen and I did need to manage them, I do want to make sure I have systems in place and things that I can do if something was needed on my end. But
Mhm.
it's more the long-term vision is I want it completely passive and transition all of them to a property management, at the end of the day.
Yeah, like that's one reason that I also like self-manage too, is because if I started off the gate with the PM, I wouldn't even know what their job was. Like I wouldn't know all of the details. But as I'm doing everything now, I'm like, okay, if I hire out ever in the future and this thing doesn't get done, I know they're bad at their job. Right. So
Right.
right. So I think at the beginning, it's important that you know where you're trying to find things out. And if you mess something up early on when you got one door or something, it's not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah. I struggle with that, right? Because I meet people both at the very beginning of their journey before they buy one, they're already entertaining a manager, maybe the opposite of your tactic there, Curtis. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna have a manager, and then maybe
Yeah.
when I build up, I'll self-manage. And then a lot of people talk to me about you. Like, I want to do it myself. I want to do it myself and get through this. And to your point, when you just have one or two and you make these mistakes, is the consequence that great? I think it is. Because generally, in your first one or two, you got a lot on the line.
Mhm.
And the first one or two make the difference to whether there's ever a three, four, five, six, seven. And It really depends on who you are as a person. I've already
Mm,
learned, Curtis, from the way you've talked about your willingness to do things, your willingness to sacrifice. You're a person who's eager to learn this and do this, and that's great. But like my physician example,
mm,
that gentleman is not in a position. He is raising young children in a very demanding career, and he's making a smart investment, but he is not managing that investment well when he's managing it himself because he doesn't have the resources to contribute to it. It's not that he's
mm.
not smart. It's not that he couldn't run the hell out of these properties, but his time value of money and what he prefers to be doing. He wants to be helping people. He's a helper. He's a hard worker, but he's not a great landlord, right? People who choose that kind of profession generally aren't. And so I like to see people, what I want more people to understand is the skills necessary to do this. So it's not a matter of whether you have an extra 2 hours a week or you're willing to do this or it's within 20 driving minutes of your home. Those aren't the constraining factors. It's really your willingness. And let's paint a picture whether you should self-manage. It's December 30th. In a week, it's going to be January 6th, one day past the grace period on most leases. So, Curtis, you don't have your rent from your property, right? Like,
Mhm.
are you willing on the 6th to take some action to do this, to hold your tenant accountable, get your payment? I'm going to guess the answer is yes with you.
Oh yeah.
Okay. But for most people, the 6th would look like, oh, geez, it didn't come through. They're going to talk about it at dinner tonight with their spouse. Do you think I should send them a text? Well, it is
Mm,
just after the holidays. They're going to have a 45-minute conversation about whether or not they should hold a tenant accountable to the payment that's due them. And
mm.
then they're going to nuts around for weeks and months. And I'm sorry, I just know that to be the truth. And if you can see yourself more in that position and not Curtis's at 6 a.m. on the 6th, he's taken action. By the way, that's my school of thought too. There's a job to be done, and today's the day, and we're doing it. Yeah, then you need to consider management, or you need to consider really working hard to change your nature to perform those services.
Yeah, and I think some people at the beginning are like, okay, I want to self-manage, I want to do this 6 a.m. thing, but I don't even know what form do I use? What so I think it's very important on wherever you're at that you get tapped into the education for your state or your county. Here in Washington, we have this basically home like landlord page or whatever, and it has every document, every lease form that like you need, and it tells you, okay, if you're going to post this notice, this is the order that you have to go in. And I just think that's fantastic.
In areas where Curtis is, where it's very tenant friendly, right? You have tenant activism going on in the Pacific Northwest. You're going to have a lot of publicly easy to find resources like Curtis is talking about. In Pennsylvania, we are not like that. We are behind the times versus the
Mm,
Pacific Northwest. We are still pretty landlord friendly. And I'll say it's more difficult to find information like that. So if you're looking in the North Central Pennsylvania area, my company and Hold It with PM Gen, you're going to get stuff like that from me, resources, because I'm setting you up. But otherwise, real estate investor meetups are a great place to go, right? To go, hey, I'm Jen. I'm new here. I don't even know what the rules are. Like, what is the Landlord Tenant Act? They're going to generally point you in some directions of places they got education. Oftentimes, those organizations have resources, but it's weird how, like, housing is infrastructure and our country hasn't invested in like educating the people who provide that service, right? There's no licensure. Over 60% of our rental housing is owned by Jens and Curtises and Marks of the world, not Blackstone. It's really overblown, the institutional ownership of rental properties. And so it's surprising to me that there isn't a more easy to like that you say, oh, I want to be a better landlord. How about I go to landlord school? Like they're just, I mean, unless you found something that's, I mean, I know different creators do different coaching programs and things, but I mean, I want something sanctioned, not what like Joe, who bought his first property in 2020, has to say. Sorry, Joe. Sorry, Joe. I don't pay for your advice.
Flavio does have a question for you, Jen. It says, what is your
Uh,
best platform to find tenants? I struggle to find good tenants in Washington.
Yeah. So it isn't I don't know the answer to that. And when I talk to people across the country, it varies by market. But Zillow is right now the giant in the room, right? This shit isn't happening on Craigslist that much, and it isn't happening on Facebook Marketplace with any kind of legitimacy, right? So we want to focus, in my opinion, you're a legitimate housing provider and you want to be treated like one. You want to be treated like a business. We're not going to do this on social media. We're going to do this on the listing sites. And if you're struggling to find, I hate good tenants. We should say qualified. There are no good and bad tenants. There's qualified and unqualified prospects, and there's compliant and non-compliant tenants, because good or bad implies a moral judgment, and that's discriminatory, and we're not doing that, right? So we want to find well-qualified, credit-worthy tenants. Well, my advice for that is make it widely, like you want everybody to see it. Because we got to think, when Curtis, with his good job and his good credit history and his good rental history, wants to find a new place to rent, he's going to be efficient, right? He's not going to drive around looking for a for rent sign. He's not going to fuck around on Facebook Marketplace talking to every ding dong out there that has weird shit to say. He's going to go to Zillow, Trulia, Hot Pads, one of these, right? And he's going to look for something that appeals to him, that attracts him. So how does it look? Are those professional photos? Are they clean? Are they neat? Does it have all the information he needs? Or is it 2 sentences? Why on the internet are we still acting like we're paying by the word in like the freaking New York Times? You can write like a flowery paragraph, but by all means, make sure the prospect knows, can they have a pet? What does it take to apply to be successful? Your good tenants or your qualified tenants are not going to reach out to an unprofessional ad because they do not want an unprofessional housing provider. They want to know that when the heat breaks, the housing provider can fix it. So Flavio, get off social media, get on housing listing sites, do whatever it takes to get verified and official on there. Good professional complete ads that will attract that qualified tenant. And if you do all that and you're still not attracting any qualified tenants, your rent's probably off. But got to do some work there and see how you're competing.
Jen, what would you say to someone? So if I'm not sure how to pronounce, or Phoebe
The
USA
rep
looks like
status,
it's, yeah.
real
So if
estate
you hire out
professional.
too much, you could lose rep status with IRS needed to maintain hours. So if someone presented that to you,
I'm not known that to be true, but I don't have rep status because they don't let me count my professional work in this business, and this is all I do. So, and I got one of those lazy husbands. Oh, don't tell him. He's not going to be my rep. Um, he's my high earning husband. I need to do the real estate. I need to do the grit. I am not aware that it's like that it's like that. So I've understood more passive investors who are using managers to spend that time doing the other activities. So managing the manager, evaluating deals, acquiring and disposing. Listen, I'm not an expert in that, but there's a lot of people out there who talk about that. But listen, what's better for you? Being able to carry over your passive losses on the real estate to your active income, or just run your real estate better and make more money? I don't know. It's a math problem though.
yeah, that's why I commented back that I wouldn't let the tax tail wag the dog, in my opinion, right? So it's about running your rental property more efficiently first, and then worrying about the taxes on the back end, right?
Yeah. Because what reps lets you do is take use today of those losses on the real estate against active income instead of just carrying it forward on the real estate. So it's a timing of the loss issue, which again, with one high earning W-2 spouse and one doing real estate, that's magic. But that's a very unique situation. Well, it's not very unique, but it's somewhat unique.
Trisha is asking, Jen, if you take the PM licensure, does that give you so rep status for taxes? So apparently it does.
No, and again, I'm not an expert, but I'm to understand that it's more your activities, like your work, and it's 750 hours a year. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have it, Curtis? Or are you working to
no.
obtain?
So this year I did get my license, but because I'm a teacher, it'd be so hard to justify with a full-time job to have rep status.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
But when you find that sugar mama,
hey, send them my way.
that anesthesiologist with, pretty face and that big paycheck, we're going to get you out of the school and into the real estate full time. It won't make sense for you to keep the W-2.
Yeah.
Well, in that hypothetical scenario I've placed you in.
Brady Morgan is saying it's important to know how to manage properly, even if you hire it out. Gotta know if the PM is doing their job right. So yeah, that's a great point. And I think a part of it too is if people had an experience working with Jen, or um, every property manager showed the same passion as Jen does, I think it'll be easier for them to hire a property manager. But for a lot of people, it's they hear all the bad stories or how hard it is to find good property manager, or how property management is terrible, and that's why they almost unwillingly self-manage because that is the better option, right?
Yeah. Hey, Lynn Investing, I love my fit too. Thank you. As I told the gentleman before we went live, I was the only one who dressed for business today.
Hey, I got my Bears hat on. That's business here.
I'm just playing because I'm a girl in a tie. And you can tell I'm new at it because I keep fussing with it.
Let's see. Lead Pray Huddle, Nick, who was on yesterday. He's my Bitcoin guy, weekly Bitcoin, but he filled in on Monday. But he says the secret to doing the hard part of property management is make the lease the bad guy. Sorry, the lease says this, and because of fair housing, we have to follow the lease for everyone. Works every time.
Yeah, I actually love the lease. So one of the most exciting days is when we do the lease signing. I always do it in person, and I kind of treat it like it's the first day of school. I go through it. I'm like, these are the course expectations or the lease expectations, and I say, okay, this is why this is in here. I know it seems odd. I know you aren't this type of person, but it has to be in here, and kind of explaining everything and then answering questions as they pop up in person and explaining with what it looks like if something is broken.
Let me push back on this a little bit, gentlemen, because I think sometimes investors over rely on the lease, which is, listen, the lease has to be strong. You guys are not wrong. But let me say you have to do some sort of enforcement in order for that lease to do its job. So let's use an example here. Your tenant called you this morning, Curtis, and said, leak in something. So you send your buddy the plumber, and your buddy the plumber goes and fixes it, but he calls you tonight and goes, Curtis, listen, I'm not going to charge you for it this time, but that house was freaking disgusting. You're getting like a dirty house surcharge next time. And you go, oh, didn't realize I had poor housekeeping. They're not taking out the trash, whatever it is, right? Usually when there's bad housekeeping, there's going to be other non-compliance, people, pets, whatever. What will you do? How does that lease, like what our commenter said, well, we just have to say the lease says this, but like literally, what are you going to do to get that house compliant or get it back? Like, have you walked that line before?
Yeah, so
the enforcement line.
I've gotten more like sound issues, but let's just use your trash example.
Sure.
One, it might start with a text saying, "Hey, I got this report back," just kind of a checking in type of deal. And then maybe I send the plumber back out for like a check-in on the plumbing thing. And then if the trash is still an issue, there's actually a form that we can say like, oh, this is the violation. Send it. You have a certain amount of days to fix the issue. Type of deal.
Like a notice to quit.
Yeah.
You're putting them on formal notice.
Yep.
Okay. Then
Then
you go back 10 days later at the end and it's still messy.
Yep. Then I'd have to see what our next step is. I actually put the link in the chat for Mark because I know we got some people here from Washington, but this like website's fantastic because the lawyers tell you step by step, hey, this is what you need to do. This is when you need to contact us. So if you're in Washington State, you need to join this group. I think it's like $100 a year, but it saves your butt for these times where you're like, I don't know what to do about this trash issue. We'll just go there.
That's wonderful. You know, I push back on that, Curtis, and you've got a great plan there, but too often people go, well, the lease says this, and so that's going to magically make it happen. And that's just not true. I have a whole gentleman here. His name is Nathan. He's our rental property inspector and tenant relations manager. So when that call comes in, we have a process, and maybe we'll talk about that on a future live, really break it down, but it involves putting yourself into the situation, talking it through, and then holding them accountable with revisits. And through that whole process, we're collecting documentation and running a timeline so that at the end of this, If they're not able to get compliant, I have grounds to now pursue the possession at the courts, because it's very difficult to get, even in a landlord friendly state, to get possession on anything other than money, like unpaid rent. That is the cleanest. Imagine an immaterial breach, like they brought in an animal, the house isn't clean, they're not taking out the trash, the burden of proof, and to get a judge to issue you an order based on whatever you say in the courtroom, pretty difficult. So anyway, we can talk about that sometime, but just don't over rely on the lease. A good property manager, by the way, you can learn a lot by talking to them, going to their meetups. They put a lot of free, I'm trying to get them to make more free stuff for you guys out there. I'm pleading with the industry, but yeah, that enforcement, the process, the part you have to do. And by the way, Curtis, we're not sending the plumber back. We're darkening doorways. The way to get people to clean up or address things is you showing up. Texts, emails, phone are all documentation after the doorway's been darkened. So you darken the doorway at 4 p.m. and at 6 p.m. Good to see you tonight, tenant. I was there. I did this. This is a documentation of the visit. What does that say? I'm not fucking around. I'm not fucking around. So clean up or don't, but I'm building a case. Oh, the goats.
Yeah, Trisha is saying, yeah, my dad had a tenant that had goats living in the house with him. They would hide them whenever there was an inspection, but the trailings were evident. Trisha did leave a comment in school, or she posted something last time you were on. That's why, Jen, I'm trying to find it, but there was a product I think you mentioned. Was it not Showtime, but a showing app?
Oh, was this about showings?
Yeah,
InstaShow Plus?
maybe.
So yeah, so there is a technology out of Lancaster that they're for like the self-managing landlord, but also investors and realtors. But it's a lock. How do I want to put this? It's a lock that you can use remote entry. It has audio and video, solar powered. So it is not requiring Wi-Fi. It's not requiring a power hookup. So this is good for maybe your work sites as well. But what they're really trying to do is make it so that, the example they give is the gentleman who's on the team. He has a property in Philly, which is like 2.5 driving hours away. So in order to rent it, he listed the property on Zillow and everything, booked his showings, and he did the showings, but from Lancaster. So nothing was automatic. He's on the phone or talking to them via the system, allowing them in, monitoring them, and all of that. It's a step further than what a lot of us are using in the industry. And I think maybe a great opportunity. I'm working on becoming an affiliate with them. They just redid their platform. So if they're not ready for you today, give it a month or two. But InstaShow and then the plus sign, I think is how they're doing that. And it's a tech company, prop tech company out of Pennsylvania.
InstaShow, that sounds familiar now. That sounds like the post, something.
InstaShow Plus is the technology doing that. Yeah.
So question. So what do you think of someone that does like more open house, not private tours, but they do more the open house way?
So listen, open house via scheduled tours all has to do with the supply and demand economics of your tenants. And right now in late 2025, the people across the country are talking about a soft leasing market. We're talking about rents not going up as high as they have been and about longer days on market. So today, December 25, I'm not pro open house. It can be an option. It might be the way you get Saturdays handled. You're only willing to be there 1 hour on a Saturday, maybe that, but then you mix it up. As a professional property manager, we only use open houses when the property needs to be monitored in some way or it's far away. But generally, we're making it as available as possible. And that's where things like InstaShow Plus come in, because you can do self-guided tours and all of that. And I know you're afraid in places like Washington and tenant-friendly places of using self-guided tours because of the threat of squatters. InstaShow Plus is one of those, giving you way more security on that. I think it's a great option for those areas. But anyway, I believe that we need to be making it as open as possible. So I make it look amazing. I put the ad everywhere. I'll show it to anyone. That's my job, to move this product. Now I put if I'm going to be restrictive in my tours, I better put full video, tons of pictures, every bit of information on the website. Because if I'm telling you, Curtis, you have to leave work early, an hour early to go see this place, it better be because you're just making sure I'm not lying, right? Like I want you to be so excited about this place. But yeah, we're doing it with agent guided tours and self-guided tours. But during COVID, there were people pre-qualifying, stacking 10 pre-quals in 20 minutes and getting 5 apps off that open house. So it works if the market's right. But I don't know how, if you're leasing one a year, you ever know if the market's right for that or not.
Yeah.
Like we're leasing 300 plus a year. We know month to month if that's a good idea. I don't know if you would.
Curtis Flavio says he's going to introduce you to a sugar mama.
Oh man!
See, you're not using these lives well enough. You need to be prospecting.
Well, they've
You
also
wear a tie next
the
time.
last
You'll get a
time.
date.
Oh, you weren't. I don't think you were on, Jen. But there's been talk of the speed dating at the next one rental at a time event. For
I did hear that. Yes, me and Emily, we were talking about that speed. Yeah, because the guy, what did he say? Speed dating. I was like, what are you looking for?
Oh, that's
and he
right.
just wanted to find a realtor better. And I was making a wrong assumption.
Cody Evers, who's in Wisconsin, says, "How do you handle snow removal? By each snowfall or monthly? 'Tis the season."
How are you? You get snow up there in Washington? You just rain?
Not where I'm at. If you go over to where like Flavio is over the mountains, then yeah, I'm sure they get snow.
We do, because we're running small properties, we do it by a snow event. So we make contracts with our snow removal vendors per snow event. We're very communicative on these snow events. Like we have a large variety of snow here. We have one word for it, but we should have way more. So sometimes pre-salting, sometimes reprioritizing, sometimes like it's going to be really warm the next day or turn to rain and you don't want to. So we, property managers, become amateur meteorologists, and we do it by snowfall. Monthly and fixed services are often going to be better for your larger communities and your commercial spaces where you need dedicated early service. So when I had apartment communities, now monthly might make sense, because otherwise you're going to have this question come to you. And it came to me when I was a 22-year-old property manager. I got this call like 2 days in advance of the first snowstorm I ever handled on this 300-unit property. And they go, "Hey, this is such and such snow removal." I'm like, "Glad to hear from you. How's it going?" They're like, "Are we activating?" And I go, "I don't know what you mean. What does activating mean?" And they're like, "Well, we take 2 low boys and move the equipment down to your property so that you're the first property handled. Then we move on." But and by the way, activation costs like $500 to move the equipment to your place so you could be first and, guaranteed get the service. But if you didn't, all of a sudden it was unpredictable when they were going to get at you. So they wanted somebody to pay for the activation. So I started downloading, or at the time there were no apps, but I was online, I was Weather Underground, figuring it out. And I got really good at deciding whether or not to activate because I was so worried about that $500. But if you're like us normal folks, this is per snowfall and you're just communicating each snowstorm. It can't be passive. Snow's never passive.
What?
And by the way, they don't always go out and handle it. You have to fucking check every snowstorm. I wish you didn't.
What scale would you say? Okay, this is the size where we do the monthly. This is the size where we do per event.
If you have parking lots and roads,
Okay.
If you have parking lots and roads, like I might start thinking monthly at a couple hundred doors. I don't think you have to look monthly at 100 doors, but it depends on your market and what vendors are offering. Like I'm in a small market, so I don't have a ton of options and we have a lot of flexibility with our vendors to, negotiate. But in bigger places, I don't know how it looks, but yeah, I wouldn't mess around with monthly or guaranteed unless I had roads and parking lots. Man.
Sorry, hold on. I'm gonna put your YouTube channel here, but Jen is also on LinkedIn. She is on Instagram, Facebook, but Troy.
Hold it with PM Jen everywhere.
Yes, hold it with PM Jen. Troy is asking. That's why Troy. He said he was asking somewhere how to connect with you. He said he loves your style of management.
I saw you on Zubers before this, and I downloaded the guide that you had, and I actually read through it. I said, okay, so
thank you.
So one thing that I liked about it is it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows and fluff. Like you actually said, okay, this place is great, but this is how it also sucks too. Like just be
Yeah.
aware.
Well, and it sucks in these ways,
Mm.
and this is how you can overcome
Yeah.
them to succeed, because everywhere sucks in some
Yeah.
way.
But not all guides or PMs tell you those things. They're like, hey, our market is great because X, Y, or Z, and that's it.
Well, they're probably not hoping to get clients, and I sign month-to-month agreements, Curtis.
Mhm.
This is why I'm so fucking honest, because if I sign you on the wrong bill of goods, I sold you on an expectation, and I'm not sending you that check every month, because we're the only real estate professionals out there who have to send you checks and earn it with you as we go. I don't get a big fat check ever from these people. So, if I sign month-to-month agreements and it's not working out, I'm just going to churn you out. And if I bring you in thinking it's going to produce this and be this easy and no problems, well, you're going to find out if I'm successful and you buy here and you're one of my clients, then you're going to hate me.
Mm.
That's I sign up to win, baby. Like I'm trying to win. And there's enough people out there who are realistic, who get it and who go, and this is what I hear all the time. If I had you in my market, oh my gosh, I'd love it. And I go, then come to my market or find your PM Gen in your town.
Mm.
Yeah, see, to Jason's point, yes. Well, unfortunately, there are not too many gens around, or I would think of using a PM. And as Phoebe,
But how do we know? Like, I feel like I can tell a good PM from not, like with a little bit of conversation and some investigation, but like, how would you know, Curtis and Mark?
Mm.
Like, how do you decide if a property manager is good or not? And why, upon hearing me, do you think I'm so good right away? I could be full of shit. You don't know.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You could be full of shit, right? Like you could be saying all the right things, and we have these processes, but if we didn't see it, how would we actually know? I guess if it was local, right? If I go to like a meetup and I hear multiple people that don't have anything to gain from telling me about the PM, then it's like, okay, well now I can take that weighted a little bit more.
Yeah.
hold on, I'm trying to catch up with all the comments. Yeah, I mean, to me, yeah, it's challenging. I think you really have to understand yourself too, right? It's not gonna always, some people just have to self-manage for themselves, and some people property management is the way to go. So a lot of it is just knowing your personality too, right? And I think a lot of it also comes down to, I know Jen only has maybe about 15-20 minutes left, and I think Curtis may have had more questions for her. But there was, like it also comes down to, like, you did post something else on LinkedIn that I also want to talk about, but it was like, what is the number one most important thing you can do when you have a collapsing sewer lines on your properties on Christmas, right?
We had two different properties. Yeah. Over communicate relentlessly. So just long story short, you're going to be calling vendors. It's not going to be fucking fun. Even if it wasn't Christmas, like no dookies going down the potty is a bad day in the house. Like, so, or 2 or 3, as it turns out. It's over communicate relentlessly. And if I was just telling you right off the bat, like Curtis, if you were dealing with this, you would talk to your tenants, explain to them what you're doing, and then say, I'm going to be talking to you twice a day, every day. I'm going to call you on your phone. If I do not reach you, I will leave you a voicemail message with the update, right? And if you need something, how are you going to get what you need? Do you call me? Do you email me? Do you text me? And then you stand by that. So that first day, there's probably going to be a lot of updates. Oh, I managed to speak with 3, 2 are set up to be there tonight at 8. I'll be there, right? And you hit them with that. And then the next day, I'm waiting on the invoices. I've called them each twice, right? I'm doing my part, tenant. And you come to them before they can come to you with a complaint, and keep that cadence the whole way through. It's annoying, but it will keep everything to a dull roar. They're not going to be happy. They're not going to send you a thank you card, but they're not going to withhold rent. They're not going to badmouth you. They're not going to get all aggro and send you a bunch of text messages that aggravate you and make it worse. And you can stay focused on the solution. So yeah, when I came in on Christmas Eve and knew that we were battling too, I took the vendor coordinator, I took the tenant relations manager. I go, Merry Christmas. You're managing emergency maintenance. This is a rite of passage. And this is what it means.
Mhm.
And you just, and listen, you're within if you had as much money in the world, I couldn't make that thing flow. I can't write any check and make that pipe open on Christmas Eve. Can't do it. Like, I'm within the bounds of, we've got to cut the street. We got to call we call it PA1 call, the utility marker
Mhm.
people. There's just certain things that need to happen. And when you lay it all out there like that and they see you're moving forward, I think you're good to go. Only the true crazies make you really pay.
Yeah.
And then if they try to make you pay, you have a timetable of like the excellent service you provided them and you're fine.
Yeah, I think one thing that my tenants enjoy, and I got this from Dion, was if there's like maintenance stuff. Now, I've never had like a big emergency like that, but if there's ever like maintenance stuff, I include the contractor or handyman in like a group chat. So that way, so like let's say I don't even have to be there. The tenant wants to be
Yeah.
home when the person is in their house, which I understand. They just set up in the time, and I can just check
Cool.
the text.
Cool.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if Trisha means she was trying to connect with you, Jen, but she said she tried to do it after your first interview, but I think the community had overwhelmed your website, so she needs to try.
Look at the playbook.
Oh, maybe that's what she's. Do you have a link for it right now, or?
It's holditwithpmgen.com, and at the top is just playbook, and it's free. But yeah, after that Zuber interview, like you, Curtis, I saw my email going. I was like, oh, something's happening. People are downloading the playbook, and it was the Zuber interview. It's free for now.
Let's see. There was. Oh, so Yasik is saying, yeah, the more questions we ask, the more informed decisions we make.
Mhm.
And I think you also
Yep.
posted. I think you may have posted this on LinkedIn also too. You were talking about even like Yasik is saying, references or reviews. You don't want just all positive reviews in a sense, right? Because sometimes,
On your
yeah,
Google or Yelp. Yeah. Your Google, your Yelps. I would be critical. I am critical of property managers with many, many reviews. Let's say above 75 and a long history, and there's no negative. Now, here's why. Because one of the things I do for my clients is hold boundaries, and sometimes that has negative consequences. So, one of the things I do in my job is evict people or tell them no to different things or say no to applications or whatever. And that can create negative reviews. Honestly, in my experience, mostly from the friends and family of those who love the tenant. The tenant knows the situation they're in, who knows what mom or grandma or friend was told. And so we get some negative pushback. But what we want to see as a consumer looking for a property manager is, how is the property manager handling that? Are they acknowledging it? Are they being transparent? Because that is my job, right? Like, can you imagine the repo company and what their Google reviews look like? Like when they go get the car back for the bank? Like, and if my job is to get compliance or possession, one or the other, that's not always a frustration when somebody loses their housing. So I like to see a little bit of a mix, and I like to see a mix of where the positive comes from. The positive shouldn't just be coming from tenants and shouldn't just be coming from clients. It should be coming, in my opinion, from all kinds of stakeholders. We have a lot of people who count on us as property managers: tenants, landlords, vendors. The community counts on us to keep a lid on this stuff. So there's a lot of people out there who care about us. I'd be critical. Listen, that's a great way to look at it, but we need to be talking to more people all over and shop them. Why wouldn't you shop them? Why wouldn't you find one of their available listings and go see it? What's the leasing experience like? Is it the kind of experience you'd want to have on your property? I don't think sometimes people have told me, oh, I've toured buildings and they talk shit about the property manager. Yeah, when the property's selling and you're in somebody's home and they're bad mouthing things, that's all, take it with a grain of salt. That's a high pressure situation for that tenant. Housing's very insecure. They're motivated by lots of things that aren't an accurate consumer review.
Yeah, Jen, I wish there was a show like the repo for cars, but you and PM. I would watch that show.
Pick it up, guys. That's a slow clap. We got to get it going into it. Curtis, I am literally trying to get somebody to pay me to build a reality show right now. I see two different ones. One, showing the problem solving, showing the things we do that save our clients' ass. Examples: a tenant kills himself with a gun in a unit. only tenant on the unit, right? That's a big problem. You can imagine if you're teaching gym that day and you get the call, that's not going to be solved in 10 days and back on the market and everything sealed up like it would be if you had a professional property manager. Or the power company decides to send you a $6,000 bill and some bullshit, and like customer service gets you nowhere. We go to the PUC, right? The crazy things. It's almost like remember that show Dog the Bounty Hunter? And they would be very creative about how they would solve problems and get information. It's a lot like that in property management. So I'd love to show that. I want to call it The Rules of Real Estate because my last name is Rulins, but it's RUELS anyway. And then I also see a bar rescue type show. So maybe, Curtis, you have a 4-unit that either you've run for 20 years and it's not doing great, or you just bought it. And this is something we do here with clients is we stabilize the property. So educating people on, okay, I bought this. The rents are $1,000 a door, but I see these opportunities. There's risks present, there's problems present, and there's opportunities present. How do I make a strategy so that in 20 years, I'm so glad I did these things and ran it, and now it's worth all the money and I'm so successful? That is what I'd love to see. We're doing it every day for people, but it's really real stuff. Love to see it, Curtis. Are you by chance connected to anybody? Because you can get my email.
I am not, but a friend in the area, if you call him that, James Daynard, he's on A&E and he shows his zombie flips.
Okay. So, and that's the kind of thing that gets a lot of attention. And when there's a guy out in the Southwest in property management, and I'm forgetting his name right now, he does like eviction content. So, and that is often what's featured when you judge by audience and clicks and all that kind of stuff. I'm not so into it. I don't think people who are like on this live stream who are really interested in learning about real estate investment are into that. But it is sensational. I do like cops. Lord knows I like a live PD too, but that's not the kind of program I would do. But you're right. Like anytime it's sensational, but there's enough juicy stuff in this business to not show live evictions. It's actually not that interesting.
I was just listening to before we went live today, Theo Vaughn's podcast with Caleb Hammer, and they're talking about they're thinking about doing like ideas, and they had one like if someone, because people Caleb Hammer talks about finance, for people in credit card debt and bad. So he's like, somebody was like, why don't you do a show where you catch someone buying something that they shouldn't be buying and making a purchase, and then you cut up their credit card like right there, like it's somehow you know that they're at this certain store and they're buying something that they shouldn't be buying, and then you cut up their credit card right there. But Accidental Landlord says, Jen, do you recommend providing a 2-year lease renewal option to tenants to reduce turnover risk?
So here's my approach on renewals. In Pennsylvania, I like the first lease be 1 month 1 year and no longer than 1 year. Because the rules around notice start to change if you do longer than a year lease. And in the first, they're not horrible to deal with, but I don't want to deal with it on an unknown tenant. So first lease is 12 months. 9 months into that lease, we're doing a couple things. We're doing a financial review. How are they behaving financially? And we do a preventive maintenance inspection to even figure out, should this tenant get a renewal? We often don't ask ourselves as investors, should we be offering a renewal? And if so, under what terms? So if they are worthy of a renewal, then we start to look at our options. And I do like a longer than 1 year. So in my world, if your lease is already, see here, we have some seasonality. So I have about 9 months I want your lease to end in, and 3 I don't. So if you're already in that 9 months and based on the mix of the building, it's a good time, I might offer you a 2-year. And that's the best rent, right? That's the most cost efficient. A 1 year, which would be a little bit more. And then a month to month, which in my portfolio, I'm doing $100 above the 1 year option. So if I'm giving you $1,100 as your 1 year, this would be a $1,200 option for month to month. I like that because that puts a cost to the flexibility. I now know they plan on moving soon. And because they are, I'm getting that rent premium to make up for the fact that I'm expecting a notice at any point. By the way, people sit on that for years and years and years, just paying that premium. It happens. But some people don't. And so if I made that initial lease in say January, and that way the 1 year would come up, My best offer might be something like 18 months or 20 months, something that would just put them, that would both be longer and put them in a time where I'd like them. So there's lots of different options there, but not on the first year. I'd prefer not to, just because in my state, I'd have to give longer notices to quit on certain things.
Nice. Yeah, I've only done a 2-year lease one time. It's kind of a special circumstance. I had told you about how I kind of boxed off that one room that I lived in without a shower, right? And so once I moved out, I had told them well in advance. I said, hey, when I move out, would you like that extra bedroom? It'd go from a 2-bed to a 3-bed. And they're like, yeah, well, what would that rent be? And I said, well, it'd be a lot more because there's a big difference. And they said, well, what's the amount? And then I told them, they're like, yeah, that's fine, but can we do a 2-year because that is a huge jump? And I said,
and they wanted to lock it in.
Yeah. And I said, absolutely no problem. It was almost $1,000 more. And so I said, absolutely. So we locked it in.
You have to be laughing at these rent numbers I'm using here, Curtis.
Some of them I'm like, well, are you renting out bedrooms?
I know. My average rent here in my portfolio is just getting to like $1,000.
Oh, wow. So then that kind of leads me to a few questions about your market. Like if someone was interested in like, okay, I want to invest and I want an awesome PM. I only know one awesome PM, Jen. What is your market like for someone that would purchase there?
$65,000 average cost per unit. Average multifamily property size is 3 doors, mostly 2s and 4s. A lot of doubles here. It's old housing stock, and the average cap rate's 11%. It takes a long time to place equity here. This is a great beginner market for beginner money. Oh, I got 50K. I can get you into a double and you're well on your way to having this property, you know, for a long time and it performing for you. It's challenging, and then it's old housing stock. But Curtis, if you're interested in my market, go get my playbook at holditwithpmgen.com and then find a realtor. If you'd like a referral, email me. I think that's the instruction in the thing, and I'll refer you. Because I don't do those transactions. I just manage. But yeah.
All right. So everyone, tell Jen thank you. I know she has a lunch, right?
I'm gonna pop off here in 5 minutes. Faux cheesy.
Yeah. So if you got any last minute questions, throw it in the chat. But next time, hopefully, we can get you back on in the new year. New Year 2026 is coming up. But I want to, and with Curtis being the teacher, also, I don't know if he had interest in this one, but I do want to dig into like another one of your LinkedIn posts. You said I've been judging final projects for college real estate students. So yeah, maybe next time on we can dig into that a little bit more. What is that all about though?
So I'm good friends with a gal who runs the real estate department at Penn State, and she teaches these courses to the kids. And their final project is making a proposal to an investor based on their buy box. So she goes and gets all of her real estate friends, gets our buy boxes, gives them to the kids, and then they go search the market and present it to us. I mean, these kids don't know how many units are in the property. Everything's going to be student housing. Everything. And every student housing town's a boom town, which I don't know if you guys follow that at all. Ain't true. It is still currently true in State College where Penn State is, but it is not in the rest. And so the wake up call, and I'm a bit of a bully. Like I do like to just put them on their ass a little bit, but that's my job. Like the professor doesn't do that. The mean business lady who comes in to make you panicked and give you the real life exercise does that. I love it. She also has these case competition teams she's been building, and we've been helping them prep with our kind of like feedback and beating them up a little bit. It makes them ready.
All right. So maybe
it's so cute. These kids are going to go work in like blue chip companies and like look at Excel spreadsheets all day. They're not like us.
Not like us.
Curtis, you got any last questions for Jen, or maybe we can get Jeff's question answered before she leaves?
Yeah. So there's a lot of folks in our community that are trying to manage or trying to at least learn the PM before they hand it off, right? And you've been in the business for a while. I kind of heard your story thrown into the fire, right? You're managing, 300 plus units by yourself. How or what resources would you say, okay, if you want to be a property manager and do it well, this is how you learn?
Hold on, I'm grabbing a book.
Curtis, you can stick around after she bounces off.
Okay. So there's a million books out there on managing your properties. Okay. This is one I recommend it. But why do I recommend this? Well, it's two young women who are doing this. They're speaking to it from a female point of view. So it's different and unique that way. And they really get like their professions are really based in systems and processes. So they understand about setting up tools, systems, so that on the 6th, the same thing happens and being disciplined. So I really like their approach. But to answer your question, Curtis, I wish there was like a Harvard University course you could take or something. And maybe one day I'll write one and have one. But for now, it's find people who resonate with you and then try to go deeper into their world. So if you're a Hold It with PM Gen girl and you really like how I talk about this and I say, hey, I haven't written the book, but maybe this one's for you, maybe. But search around and find the one that makes sense to you. I say when you read content, if you're excited to keep reading, if you're like, oh yeah, that's a resource for you. It doesn't mean that they're saying anything different in this than one written by someone else, but it might appeal to you. Like these gals are in the middle of the Midwest. I also identify with that because that's very much what my market is like here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this would resonate with you, Curtis, but you got to look around, kind of like when you're finding content creators. You're finding Mark, you're finding Mike Zuber, you're finding Jonathan Green. You're like, find the people that resonate with you and go deeper with them. And then those who don't, if you're alienated by it, I say peace. Like, I don't like schemer dreamers. I don't like people who say you can do things with no experience and no money because that's a lie. So I don't give a shit what those people say. And I would just say to you, like, get really clear on your values and what works for you. Gentlemen, this chat is so cool.
Yeah, we have a great community, and I think, like you said, after Zuber's interview, your email or website was blowing up. So I think you see the power of this community. But quickly, Lynn was asking the name of the book. I did put The Self-Managing Landlord. What is there an author for that? Oh.
Yeah, Amelia McGee and Grace Kudenhoff. They run Wire, WIIRE, Women in Real Estate.
Oh,
Look them up on social. But this is their book. Bigger Pockets Press did it.
Okay, yeah, I heard it.
Guys, 4 people downloaded my playbook on this live.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm glad you can get some value. I'm glad you're willing to do this. So yeah, we'll get you back on and go enjoy your lunch.
See you guys.
Thank you, Jen.
Bye.
Thanks for your time. Bye.
Good stuff.
Yeah, Jen is great. Yeah, I'm glad Zuber got to connect. Zuber saw one of her reels that I posted, and he said, "Hey, he says I love this lady." Like that's, so he wanted to interview her. Hey, Justin Cambra's here. So in the new year, I'm also going to be holding Justin accountable. He's trying to reach a certain number on YouTube and Instagram, I believe. So
nice.
Gonna have to hold him accountable for that. But Flavio, does bring up a question for you, Curtis. Since this is right around the corner. But he says, Curtis, I'm getting my small Subaru ready to hit Vegas. Are you ready to carpool?
Nah, man, I am not. No one wants to carpool, man. Just ride the donkey down and you'll be good.
Yeah, right around the corner, man. It's about 6 weeks away. You all set for Vegas?
Oh yeah, I've been soaking up the last 2 weeks off, and then kind of that January push, and I'm excited for the event. Like last year, it was great to see all the people that we connect with online. It's going to be interesting to see the new folks.
Brady Morgan is saying, yeah, I think someone else mentioned this also. Brandon Turner's Managing Rental Property books was quite helpful in learning when I knew nothing. Yeah, I think it's constantly evolving. You're always, you're going to learn a lot of things. I think, like I said, I think the biggest thing is you really just got to understand, yourself, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, some people definitely cannot self-manage. They're too emotional. I think like Cody Evers, who has a decent sized portfolio, who I'm not sure if he's still here in the chat, but I think he just doesn't want to do it because he knows he's going to be, it's just hard, he doesn't want to be the bad guy in a sense, right? And it's difficult for him, and it doesn't fit his personality. So for him it is very challenging, and he's willing to get a property manager for that, right?
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see as my portfolio grows, or at what speed it grows, to see if I change.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, I think a lot of times if you look at I don't know what your exit plan is too, right? A lot of people down the road, that is why they get rid of their rentals at a certain age, right? So they get older, and they've been self-managing or whatnot, and it's just
Mhm.
like they just don't want to deal with it anymore, right? And then for them, they start selling off properties and things like that. So I think, yeah, definitely, if you can find a great property manager, it definitely takes a lot off your plate. But yeah, anything else you want to dig into? What are you working on now? What do you got ready coming for 2026? And how was your 2025?
Yeah, 2025 was good. I'm ready for 2026. It looks like I'm gonna have some events that I'm gonna actually run myself. One for January, February, March, and then we'll kind of see if those go well. I'll have some more for Q2, but these are gonna kind of be like home buying type stuff or black home ownership for February, and then March will kind of be that spring prep time for the busy time. And so I'm excited and kind of nervous for those events because while I've helped with other networking events in the area, I've never been the person in in charge. And so that's gonna be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think Justin Camera just had an event recently, if I'm not or it's coming up, or he just had it recently. I remember saw his
Yeah, I
social
think he
media
had a
post.
house hacking one up in Bellevue.
Yeah. Yeah, so Cody Every says, yeah, agreed, Mark. It's worth having the PM. Big thing is getting time freedom as well. Yeah.
Mm.
Flavio, I'm not sure if he's meaning,
Mhm.
are you teaching still school PE, like
Yeah,
physical ed, or teaching
yeah.
real estate?
Yeah, so for my day job, I'm still going to be teaching, but I'm off at 2 p.m. And then when I'm coaching, I'm off at 4 p.m. And so the plan is to have a monthly event in the evenings or Saturday, like morning afternoons for like homeowners or home buyers. Because I do have a full time job, I'm trying to make my work of prospecting a little easier on me. And so that way I can get as many people in the room as possible and try to make some leads that way.
Yeah, so Justin Cambra is saying he's doing monthly meetings for investors. Yeah, very cool. I know you've been posting it in school. So those of you that are in school, Justin hasn't been too active, but he is there, so you can always go follow him there and find out more about his what he's working on. But yeah, this was a good one. I love when Jen's on. I think people enjoy when Curtis comes on. So I'm glad you're on Christmas break. But I don't know if you've been following or you saw. Like I said, maybe we can wrap it up with this topic. But um, have you seen everyone talking about Odell Beckham recently on social media?
What did he do in this
He
time?
well, he came out. He came out. There's just clips of him talking about how you can't live on $100 million. I believe his contract was for like $100 million, and
Yeah.
he was basically saying like how difficult it is to live on $100 million, and so yeah, it started bringing all these comments, and people trying to break down his spending, and yeah, so see Justin Odell broke, yeah, exactly. So I think they started looking. So I think he even sold his cleats, his Super Bowl
Oh,
cleat, you know
geez. Yeah.
so things like that. But yeah, basically he was saying $100 million is not enough.
Have you seen the ESPN documentary Broke?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, it is fantastic. It actually breaks down on how there's a large percentage of athletes that after they retire, they actually go broke. And it breaks down like, okay, this is what he was spending on housing, this is what he was spending on baby mama one, baby mama two, and like it breaks everything down, and you're like, oh, that's how they can actually go broke. Because from the outside view, we're like, okay, $100 million, like most people would be fine, but because of their lifestyle inflation, it's just rough.
Yeah. So yeah, Brady says hard to feel bad for a guy struggling with 100 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but I think so, at the same point too, it's like 100 million, but then you don't realize taxes, right? So a lot of time
Mhm.
people say they see their contract, but then for someone they're not realizing, then they start realizing, oh wow, taxes does take out this much. And then I think they broke down a lot of it also was he was buying things for family members, right? So a lot of times, and
Mhm.
it's like, you buy that, you're buying a house for the mom, or the parents, and then it's just all these things start adding up, and they don't realize that, yeah, maybe you buy a whatever $10 million home all cash, but what is the property taxes for it, right? What is the
Mhm.
yearly insurance? And all these things start adding up, but they don't realize even after you buy the home, there's these other expenses that do come up.
Yeah,
Um,
so my uncle did play for the Bears and a couple
yes.
other teams. That's the only Bears comment that I'll make. But so I've gotten to kind of hear the stories of what the locker room and what going out was like, and like how the money would just fly as fast as it would come in, as fast as it would go out for a lot of the guys.
Yeah, I think definitely that is part of the problem, and I believe a lot of the sports have been implementing. I don't know if coaching or teaching is the right word, but when they start going to these camps, right, to
Mhm.
training camps or even like the rookie combine stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's people there already starting to talk to them about their finances and how to handle that. Because yeah, it is a sad situation if you do
Yeah.
fortunately get $100 million contract and then you're broke within 5 years of your playing days or something, right?
It actually is starting to happen earlier and earlier because of NIL, where the college athletes are getting paid. For example, there's a young man at this high school that my school feeds into, so I know all the kids there. When he turns 18, he'll basically be a millionaire because he's one of the top quarterbacks in the state of Washington, and so we already know he's going to get paid. So people are already trying to prepare him now for what to do with the onslaught of cash that he's going to have. And whatever college that he goes into, a lot of the colleges now have, like, you know how they have like academic advisors, like, oh, this is what class you should take. Now they're actually having some financial advisors. I don't know how they vet those people, but they're having those on college campuses too.
To that point, like I said, you did play college football. What is your thoughts on the NIL?
Yeah, I think NIL, it was a needed thing. I think it's gone so far though that now it's just the sport's a different thing, right? Because
Yep.
be yeah, because before people just wanted to get paid for an autograph or to be in CFP, like the gamings, right? But it's gone so far that people are having re-sign parties for their like it's just a different thing. It's basically pro sports now, but at the collegiate
Yeah, I
level.
mean, I do agree that they do need to get paid,
Mhm.
but it's got to a point where now I don't like how they can just leave when they're not playing. Like it's you committed to this university, and now
Mhm.
you're the backup or you got beaten out by someone else and now you're unhappy that you're not playing and you just kind of jump ship to another so it's kind of
See that I actually, that's not the problem that I have. Like, a one transfer, I'm not really too concerned. It's when they go to 5 schools in 4 years or something
yeah.
crazy. Or did you see that there's an NBA, a professional basketball player that's just signed to Baylor?
Wait, what?
Yeah, so he played in like 6 NBA games and a little bit in the G League, and there's pictures of him playing like Wimby, but because he didn't play a certain amount, he can actually go back to college. I think he signed to Baylor, and that's kind of the big talking point now. Is like, okay, how are we letting you guys come back?
Strange times, but yeah. So yeah, Brady Morgan says every pro athlete should be required to take
Mhm.
financial education before signing those big contracts. But to Josh Burdick's point too, it's almost like financial literacy is missing from our schools. Weird, right?
Mhm.
Hey, Hugo's here. Stay winning. Cody Evers says, Curtis, we just missed NIL. Could have been some art. Yeah. So Cody played for Indiana, I believe,
Mhm.
right? And yeah, so like who was saying that? Cameron at the Vegas event, right? He was kind of like, "Whoa, I never seen like I'm not used to being around guys bigger than me." He saw you and Cody. He's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. And me and Cody really aren't that big compared to some of these other guys. We were like, whoa, these are like monsters.
Well, Co- Cody's a big dude, man. He's quite bigger than you though, right?
Yeah, but Cody will even tell you there's some even larger guys.
I think Cody lost weight trying to eat with chopsticks. That's why. So he lost a few pounds when you saw him. But yeah, to me, yeah. I'm sure there's much bigger guys, but
Yeah. Although
both.
Mark, to you, I mean, let's just be real, you know.
To me, Jen is big. I mean, not saying she's big, but
Whoa, whoa,
to
hold
me,
on.
she's big, right? Yeah, Jeff is financial literacy needs to be taught in a better way to all students. Well, well, maybe yeah. Well, you being a teacher, I know we touched on this topic before, but part of it though is right is who's going to teach it to them, right? Who's going to be teaching these kids about finance, I guess, in a sense, right?
Mhm.
So how do you know the educator or instructor? What if they're, I mean, I know Dave Ramsey, the first beginning steps are important, but it's like, what if you have this instructor that is teaching them like no debt, right? As far,
Mm.
like, taking out a mortgage on a home, right? So is that gonna be helpful when it's very difficult to buy a home all cash, right?
Yeah,
So that's where I struggle. So I think a lot of it has to be taught at home, I guess, right? So
yeah. I think there could be an argument if we're in school doing it like a comparison. Like, okay, first we're gonna read Dave Ramsey's book, right? Then halfway point we're gonna read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then so that way you're seeing both sides, and as long as the teacher can come at it from a objective view and just say, hey, this is the information, we're going to go through it, and this one we're going to go through and at least have conversations. I think that's probably a way to do it.
yeah, absolutely. I think just like even like Dave Ramsey, right? It's like the first whatever 4 or 5 steps for anyone can benefit from that, right? So
Yeah.
it's just a basic foundation, and but of course, also I think the important part is teaching them like how bad credit card debt is, things like that, right? Things
Mhm.
that some basic stuff. But Cody Ever says, yeah, glad they did the NIL and should have done something a long time ago with structure. Now it did get out of hand. Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, what do you got planned for the new year, I guess, coming up then?
Yeah, so today and tomorrow I'm dropping some videos before the new year. And then for January, just preparing for our first event, which I'm going to be posting about, kind of that 2026 home buying class, which I'm going to be hosting with two other people. More to share once we get those details ironed out.
For those of you, if you haven't yet, there's Curtis's YouTube channel, so go subscribe there. But always a lot of fun. It's always a good time catching up. I'm glad we got one in before the new year. And I know we got some stuff coming up with some recordings with like Alex's son. We're gonna try to get some people before the event and after the event. Oh, Lynn is asking, do you have any New Year's resolutions then?
This is where we come back, but I don't really necessarily do New Year's resolutions. It's such ass backwards for my personal calendar because like the school year starts in August. My birthday is in August. So that's kind of when I do my stuff is kind of that time. But I'm really excited for the agent side of the business, and then I'm in. I can really start to see the work I've done before starting to produce, and I'm excited to kind of push that more into the new year.
No, getting Lynn a Costco membership. I'm saying Hyder is saying. Uh, Cody says redhead use more chopsticks so I can be Mark's side. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow with Joel, Lauren, and possibly Monica. She
Oh,
she
Wacky
said she's gonna
Wednesday.
be there, but we'll see. She's a bit flaky, so if she is listening, then she's gonna hear me calling her flaky. But last day, Brady Morgan. Most education these days is self-driven. Who actually learns anything from traditional education besides how to be a cog in the system? Yeah, very good point. What happened with the ad today? Not sure what he means.
Mm.
Yeah, sometimes I don't know. I turn on the monetization thing, and sometimes it doesn't go on. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why, but All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Curtis, thanks. I wish you were on Christmas break more often so we can do this more on a basis. But thanks for filling in for Brandon. Everyone, I guess if you wanna Jen, go to Jen, hold it PM Jen. You can download the playbook there, and I will